Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty here, the host of the show. I am joined today by my friend. I can now call him my friend because we have become friends over the years. Travis Ross. Travis is behind the YouTube channel, Max Dalton. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, why would he call his channel a different name? We've talked about that story before. If you'd like to hear that, go back to episode 249 of the podcast, where that's about a couple of years ago, where I talk about Travis's road to 100,000 subscribers. And even before then, on episode 200, we talk about how he created an alias when he started his channel, which is the Max Dalton YouTube channel. Travis is very successful on YouTube. Travis is very similar to myself when it comes to creating informational type evergreen content. And Travis does really well for himself on YouTube. He does instructional content around technology like myself. And so, Travis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dusty. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. So it's been too long since we've had you on the podcast. Most people think of general success on YouTube as subscribers, the subscriber count, big flashy numbers, millions of views on every upload. You and I kind of see it a little differently, and we've talked about that historically, but briefly explain why you've kind of modeled your channel this way and kind of the benefits of what you and I have seen from doing it that way.
Yeah. So I've modeled my channel, the way that I've done it just, to create financial freedom more than anything. So, my approach has been to be efficient with creating videos and work to create content that people are searching for, content that adds value, and to create that content as quickly as possible. So, the content that I create, there's really no flash about it. It's simple, it's straightforward. YouTube's a video platform, but all my stuff is images that are stitched together. I do all the editing of those images, adding little red boxes that call things out in Microsoft Paint. And it takes me about 2 to 3 hours to create a video, but it's all for the sake of efficiency with the ultimate goal of cranking out as much content as I can to give myself, as many swings at the plate. So
since the last time I've had you on the podcast, there's been a big push of automated YouTube channels where people are utilizing AI and they're automating everything. What you and I do, we're not an automated YouTube channel. Can you kind of talk about the differences between the two?
So I think those automated channels, I don't use, I use ChatGPT for help more with my website than I do for anything with my YouTube channel. The automated channels are, I feel like there's a lack of authenticity. You're talking about the ones that use the voice,
yes,
even with the fake voices and everything, right? And where they get all of their content, like where they have the AI write all of the content.
Yes.
I feel like those people are trying to cheat the system. I've seen some channels like that, and I feel like the information that they deliver is, more often than not, it's inaccurate. It feels impersonal. And it ultimately feels disingenuous. I think with what we do, we sit down, we actually, do the things that we're teaching other people how to do. Sometimes those things change very quickly, and our videos, can get out of date. But, when we put it together initially, we're actually doing the thing. We're actually writing a script. We're actually verifying and validating the information. And it's actually our voices who are delivering, who are telling you, that are telling you how to do something.
We were talking off air before we hit record about kind of your cadence of videos and how you've changed that recently. Your goal is for a 365-day calendar year to have around 250 to 270 videos uploaded. And for me, a good year would be right around 200. I've never done above like 190. I think this year I really want to make that push above to the 200 video mark. And for us, that's important. That metric is very important for us process because, like you said, every video we upload could be the one that takes off, right? We may upload 20 videos in a month, but only 2 of those over the next year or 2 are the ones that go crazy, or the diamonds in the rough is what me and you normally kind of relate to them as. Talk about, firstly, how you're getting these video ideas. Talk about that process, and then your thought process that you told me off air about how you're kind of giving yourself a break every 4th day to make sure you optimize your efficiency with your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So I guess with regard to the ideation, you know, a lot of it comes from just reading popular tech sites online. You know, CNET's a good source of information. I'll go through The Verge, you know, a bunch of others that are just, you know, releasing the latest and greatest associated with tech. You know, that's a good source of information. Sometimes, like with regard to, you know, iPhone and iPad, whenever Apple does a release or an update, they do a good job of releasing a full list of changes and new functionality that are included. So I'll scour through those lists. You know, if it's something to do with an app, you know, whenever an app gets updated in your various app stores, they often release the change notes that tell you new features and things that were added. So that's a good source. And the other place is just, I use a lot of technology, right? At work, at home, in my personal life. So, you know, some ideas just come from me running into a problem, and then, you know, I had to solve it. And so I figure, if, you know, some of the best videos, some of the most successful videos that I've published have been things where I ran into a problem and had to figure out, you know, how to solve it for myself. And then I ended up making a video about it. Those, you know, those are the videos that tend to do the best.
It's funny, those are the same for me too. It's either I have a problem, or like my wife has had a problem and she's trying to figure something out at school. She's a teacher, and I remember she's the reason why I made one of my most popular videos, which was my full Zoom guide showing people how to use Zoom before COVID, right? And she was trying to set that up with her teachers before COVID was even a thing. And I got to tinkering around with it, and I told her, I said, this is going to be a great video for me. I'm going to do a full series. And that's kind of where me and you differentiate, right? I do more long form. Sometimes my videos can go 8, 12, 15, 17 minutes of like fully showing people. And then I'll do the smaller bite-sized stuff as well. And so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think that it's funny that what you find to be some of your most successful bits of content are mine as well. So we talked about ideation. Now let's go to the cadence.
Yeah. With regard to the cadence, for the first, I think I'm on my 7th year of YouTube, but for the first 5 or 6 years, it was, my goal was to, you know, try and publish a video every other day. So if I did that, it would be 160, 170, 180-ish videos, I guess. But then as I had the ability to publish more, then I would try and push those out. And I kind of felt like that I could be maximally productive like that. And just for whatever reason, it kept ending up at between 220 and 225 videos every year, like clockwork. And, you know, 3 or 4 months ago, I sat down and I said, I've got to be able to do more than that, but within reason, right? But I have to be able to do more than 220 videos. That's only, you know, 2/3 of the year. I've got to be able to do a little better than that. And so I started out just saying I'll publish 3 videos every 4 days, and then I'll force myself to take the 4th day off, just so I'm not pushing myself too hard. And that's the cadence that I've worked to for the last couple months, and it's worked really, really, really well. I don't feel like I'm pushing it too hard. I'm not having any trouble hitting that mark. And it's crazy to think that that's going to generate, that's going to, you know, meaningful. I can't remember the percentage increase that is, but I mean, it's going to meaningfully increase the volume of videos that I put out. I think that'd be 275 videos a year. So an extra 30 videos a year. I generally assume that a video life is around 3 years. So, you know, at the end of a 3-year cycle, I'll have, you know, there'll be a net increase to my output volume of 90 videos. So, So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting you say you think the video life for what we do is around 3 years. I figure it to be around that as well. Some videos, I mean, I have one video that I did that's like 11 years old and is still getting people commenting on it. So, there are some outliers. Some will last shorter, some will last 5, 6, 7 years. I feel like in the older version of YouTube, older videos did well, even better than they do now. I feel like the shelf life of a video back in 2010 or 2011 or 2012 was a little longer than it is now. I don't really have any data behind that or understand why that is. I've just found that to be the case. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple quick hitting questions, Travis, and you just kind of respond how you want. This is kind of like our lightning round. How many views do you get per day, like on your channel? And just answer. How many views per day do you get on the Max Dalton channel?
About 50 to 55,000.
Okay, so we can kind of break that down. There's a ton of YouTube channels out there who would love to say, I get 50,000 views a day, right? That would be like saying for a community-based channel, every time I upload a video, I get 50,000 views. That's a pretty good baseline, right? But the beauty of what you and I do is that 50,000 is going to happen on Saturday. It's going to happen on Sunday. It's going to happen on Monday, even when we don't upload a video, right? So again, I'm not trying to share our secrets here. It took a long time. And I actually had a guy tell me, this is a funny story, Travis. I had a guy email me and said, hey, after I had you on last time back in April 2021, he said, hey, I'm trying this thing. I'm uploading these tutorials. What's wrong? What gives? And I went to the channel or whatever, and he's only been uploading for like 3 months or something. And I told him, I'm like, listen, what we've done is the long game. It could not be any longer of a game. I mean, to get, I don't even know if someone could start today and do what we do and still find the success. What do you think about that?
I think somebody could.
Yeah, they could.
I think somebody could. It was a long burn, man. I've published videos on my channel. I haven't done one for a while, but I mean, I've been fully transparent about my views per day and revenue and all that other stuff. I've got those videos, and I don't have it. I could probably click over here. But I won't. I want to say for the first year, I don't think I made more than a couple dollars a day. I mean, to do this, you have to at the end of 3 months, you're probably making a quarter a day if you're even monetized at this point. I guess when I started and when you started, we were monetized out of the gate. And thankfully, I crossed that threshold whenever they introduced the 4,000 hours of watch time or 4,000 subs or whatever those numbers were.
Right.
When they rolled that out, I was just crossing whatever the last marker for that was. So I've never not been monetized, but probably at 3 months when I started, I was probably making a quarter a day, and I got excited about it. I did too. Yeah. I would get pumped. I can't even tell you when revenue would go, when my earnings per day would go from a quarter to 50 cents. I mean, I was probably just to the moon, right? Like you have to, it's a grind for a couple years before you get anywhere. Yeah. These things, our channels didn't happen overnight. And it took 3 years to really rev mine up.
I called my dad when I made my first dollar. I had like as $1.27. I was at my then girlfriend, now wife's, my in-laws' house, and I said, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I made $1.27 today from the YouTube channel, and at the time I was doing other hustles, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur like us, man, you've always got irons in the fire. I was selling, I was selling stuff on eBay. I was doing Amazon affiliate. I was doing all of these things, and I thought to myself, you're telling me I can upload these videos on this place called YouTube and I can make money from these ads? And I would try to explain it to my grandma because I spent a lot of time with her in the summers and stuff. And she's like, how are you making money again? What are you doing? And so speaking of money and monetization, we've talked about this before. On a 50,000 view average channel per day, like what are you averaging money-wise? You don't have to tell us exactly. I know YouTube doesn't like that, but what are you averaging on like a daily basis?
So, you and I talked before, and that's over the last couple of years. COVID was very, very good to everybody on YouTube, right? So those numbers have changed over the last couple of years, but I think my views per day, I feel like that's sort of stabilized, and I feel like the earnings have started to sort of stabilize. So between $300 and $350 a day is a safe bet.
Yeah. So it's interesting the way COVID kind of changed what we did. COVID came and it really inflated our numbers because people were trying to learn how to do things technology wise. So for you and I, we were at that perfect, kind of sector of kind of where it hit. And I remember there was a day or two there right in the pinnacle of COVID, right? Where, I can't remember how many views I got, but I remember making something silly like $1,800 in a day, like in a day. And it was off the backs of just 7 or 8 videos that really popped off and really took off, and I knew it wouldn't last, and it immediately plummeted. So there was then a steady decline, right? Like, I want to ask you, how do you handle the changes in numbers? Because for me, I'm emotionally invested. I try not to check the YouTube Studio app. You have a full-time job. You have other stuff you do and a family, as do I. Yeah. This YouTube thing's not what I do full-time. How do you manage it emotionally and not get so invested to where it just messes you up during the day?
Are we talking about coming out of COVID or just
no, just in general, like the ebbs and flows of like, oh man, things are going good and my impressions are going up, and then that's just how YouTube is.
I mean, I try to understand the why, right? I don't get, it's similar to work. I don't get freaked out whenever something happens. I try to digest it and understand it, or talk to other people, or seek information. So I guess with regard to YouTube, I mean, it's the same sort of thing. It's a matter of understanding the why. So we're in a prime time of year, and I don't know, I'll ask you if you experience this as well. I know that end of August, early September, my views are going to drop because all the kids are going back to school.
Yes.
So I know that's going to happen. I'm not shocked when, my views have gone down. In the summer, they were 55, 60,000 views a day. And now that's going to drop to around 50,000. That I know is going to happen, and that's happening. If I start to dip to 40, 45,000 views a day, then I'm going to have to dig deeper. And, there's something else going on, is what I would assume. From a financial perspective, I know that, there's going to be my earnings per day are going to go up. My revenue is going to go up in, end of third quarter, over the course of the fourth quarter. It's going to start to increase just as a result of holiday spending.
Yes.
I know that revenues are going to drop on January. January 1st is going to, like a brick in the ocean, that those earnings are going to go down. I mean, at this point, I've done it long enough, and I think you've done it long enough, that we know what the normal cadences are, and we know what's normal. Whenever something deviates from that, and I guess a good example of when things changed would be coming out of COVID. So there was the COVID decline, and I'm looking at my chart right now. There was the COVID decline, but the other interesting thing that happened there was YouTube Shorts. And that was a hard one to figure out for me, because I didn't anticipate that impact the YouTube Shorts, I feel like, it had on my channel and a lot of other channels. I didn't see that train coming. So that was one that freaked me out a little bit. And that I feel like led to a precipitous decline that only in the last, 4 or 5 months it started to turn around. But I don't know how much you want to go into that.
I remember sending you a text message. I don't know if you remember this or not.
I forgot about that.
This was probably a year ago now.
Yeah.
And my channel went from, averaging 35, 38, 40,000 views a day. And, I know kind of what happened to my channel with the decline as far as not uploading all of 2021, because I was kind of living off that high. That's a rule of thumb for people. Don't take what's happening currently and expect it to last forever, right? You need to continue the output to generate the revenue, which is something that Dusty in 2021 wished that I would have known. But I remember messaging you, and it wasn't that, and I was like, "What's going on?" And you were really nice, and you and I both had some dialogue back and forth. But I think if we were to look back now, I think you're right about the YouTube Shorts and vertical video and how YouTube was pushing and promoting that. Can you talk on that and even make the comment that you made to me off air about like the higher ups at YouTube and their thoughts on vertical and short video?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. When that happened, my philosophy, and I don't know that I've seen it validated anywhere. But I mean, my philosophy that I'm going to hold until somebody, proves me differently, is that, when YouTube rolled out Shorts, they have to they have to drive people. They have to
Correct.
drive. They had to push those, because if they couldn't show that people were watching shorts, then nobody's going to create shorts content. And so I think what YouTube consciously did was, made pretty massive efforts to push people away from long form content to their short form content, and, effectively cannibalizing, views on long form content. And that's been interesting. That's been really interesting. Only recently I've started to see articles talking about how now the higher ups at YouTube are concerned, or I guess senior engineers is the title I keep hearing, of people who are concerned, but senior engineers are concerned that YouTube is doing just that. It's cannibalizing its long form content to keep pushing its short form content, and it's incentivized the short form content so heavily that people aren't creating as much long form content. And that's fascinating, because the monetization for YouTube Shorts is just, at least for me, epically terrible. I know the
bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a general number. I mean, it's less than a nickel for 1,000 views on YouTube Shorts, and you're looking somewhere $5, $6, $7. The revenue per thousand on a channel like mine. So would you rather have $5, $6, or $7 per 1,000 views, or would you rather have a nickel per 1,000 views?
Right.
It's
Yeah. It's not good. And I think that, the upper echelon of people creating short form content they're fine, because they have other methods to monetize with designated advertisers, sponsored spots, things like that. But as far as just making through ad revenue on YouTube Shorts, you would have to be getting millions and millions of views a day to even make it worth your while.
Yeah, and I think the threshold to even get monetized, if you're a YouTube Shorts channel, is something like 10 million. I remember people getting excited when YouTube monetized Shorts, and then I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And then I looked at the threshold for entry, and it was something like 10 million views per month, or over a 90-day period, or
yes,
whatever. I mean, I did not understand why people were getting excited. I was like, there is no way in the world there's an incredibly such a small percentage of people who are going to hit that. Nope, they're not good. Nobody's going to make any money.
No. And that's what we found to be true now that it's been released. And I think that trend is kind of going and balancing itself out now. I think you and I have seen that, as have other channels. I think that YouTube, honestly, if I was YouTube, I would focus. I mean, you've got the best long form video platform on the internet, and you've got the other live streaming platforms kind of making some mistakes. You could really take over the live streaming, area or sphere on the internet and really make even more money. Because I think with live streams and those long form live streams, you could make a ton of money in comparison to vertical video.
I think for those reasons, I think YouTube's got a tremendous market opportunity right now. The other weird thing that I've seen happening just as a consumer of YouTube content is that I feel like in the last couple of weeks, they've been pushing, and maybe it's part of the recent ad change that they made, but I feel like they've been forcing me to watch more longer ads. Like, there's no skip button. I'm forced to watch multiple 15, 20, 30-second ads recently. So I feel like there's a change. Something has changed there.
And I also think that the ad change that you're mentioning as we're recording this right now, September 2023, is going to be a bigger deal than some people might imagine. And here's why I think that. I have noticed the same thing, not as much because I have a YouTube Premium account. I say that to say, if they're making this change on the ad side of things, I do believe that going forward, more people are going to be incentivized and are going to want to do YouTube Premium. I know I was watching on my daughter's Roku. She was watching some stuff, and I don't have her logged into my main YouTube account for a bunch of different reasons. I'm afraid she's going to delete my channel. But it doesn't have YouTube Premium, and I was like, good grief, these ads are like, it's like primetime TV. It's ridiculous, and it's happening every 6 to 7 minutes. As a creator, I love this. I mean, I'm like, okay, bring it on, man. Don't put that skip button there. But I want to make sure that we're going to find some good monetization methods from the YouTube Premium. I find
Yeah.
that I get, I get a good amount from YouTube Premium as the subscriptions ebb and flow. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't. It's been a long time since if I knew where to find it quickly, I'd go over and take a look. But I know every time I've always looked at my YouTube Premium revenue, actually it's higher than I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. What is
There's
it yours out of curiosity?
it looks like it accounts for. Let me filter it down to the last 28 days. So I'll say well, actually I lied. I was looking at a different number. It accounts for 0.3%
Yeah.
of my overall revenue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's very small right now.
it's very small. I don't know. That would be interesting. That'd be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to think on that a little bit more. I don't have a great answer.
So, Travis, I could talk to you about YouTube stuff forever, which is why I have you on the podcast every couple of years, because you're a great person to talk to, because you have so much knowledge about the back end of YouTube. So as we kind of conclude the conversation today, what is next for you? Like, you've talked about the change in cadence and how it's helped you be more efficient. Do you have any other things behind the scenes or things you're thinking about and trends that you see that you're going to implement on the channel going forward?
That's a great question. For me, I know every time YouTube introduces something, I've messed around with it. Memberships have been nice. I don't have a ton, but I appreciate the ones that I've got and the people who, contribute through that.
I also remember, I don't mean to interrupt you. I remember the first conversation we had back episode 200. You and I were super stoked about the super thanks. And we thought, oh my goodness, the kind of videos we do, people are going to be throwing dollar bills at us, like they're at the club on a Saturday night.
Yep.
That didn't happen. Okay.
That's not reality.
No, it's not reality. So I thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I do remember being super pumped about that. And I thought, I was excited for a digital tip jar for people. I thought, yeah, man, this is going to be a home run, but I probably get a super thanks, one or two per month, maybe.
You probably get a few more than me. I maybe one a month. I had a guy give me $25 last month, and I thought, oh my gosh. I do like how YouTube shows you, though, like on the comment, it shows the color and it shows it coming through. So it is kind of cool how they do that.
Yeah, it is kind of neat. I've tried YouTube, the whole YouTube shopping thing. I tried, putting some stuff out there and then immediately removed it because it just wasn't. YouTube was it feels like YouTube is trying to take that revenue that people are getting by pushing sales over to Amazon, and YouTube's trying to figure out how to keep that for themselves. And so they offered YouTube shopping, which was linked with like Macy's and a bunch of other basically non-Amazon shopping outlets. And I think I put it on a couple things and I was like, it feels silly because I just didn't think that me personally, if I'm going to buy something, I do it through Amazon. I try to consciously avoid buying things online through any other platform. And unless I absolutely have to. So it's good to see YouTube and Google try things. I'm going to go back to what I spoke about previously, I guess, with regard to what I'm trying to do outside of my channel, which would be that website that I've got, which I recently moved. I think last time we talked about it would have been on Squarespace. Since then, I moved it over to WordPress. Since then, I've switched hosting providers. It's been quite the holy quest, but I feel like I've got it in a good place.
What are the results from that? Like, can you see any analytical results from, I remember when I asked you last time a couple of years ago, it wasn't that much because you were just getting going. I also have a website. I purchased a URL and a domain, thanktutorial.com. I use that now to post all of my stuff on. I've changed the way I did it. There was a point in time where I hired a lady and she was doing it all for me. I loved her. She did a great job. She had a couple of kids and decided to step down from that role. I have not found anybody. I now use a lot of AI tools to help me kind of make that very quickly. Tell us the results you've seen from this.
Yeah. So, I mean, through my analytics, I can see that pretty consistently for the last 6 or 7 months, really since I revamped things, the website drives just under 4,000 views per month to my YouTube videos. So just if I take my revenue per 1,000 views and I apply that to the views that I'm pushing over to YouTube through the website, that's sort of how I think of the, that's part of how I think of the money that the website makes. The other part of it is Amazon ads. So, I mean, between the YouTube and the Amazon ads, I think the website probably accounts for, you know, somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200 a year in revenue, which is, you know, enough to pay for its hosting and enough to keep it alive. And I do feel like that other presence for people to find my channel is I like having something it helps me feel like I'm not wholly dependent upon YouTube. Even if YouTube were to go away and all I were to have would be posting videos on that website, I probably wouldn't do it because the money's not there. I think it's a nice complimentary thing. I like having it. I feel, you know, I'm happy with having another avenue, and I feel like it gives me another opportunity for somebody to find my content. You know, in Google search. I mean, the site pushes 4,000 views a month to my YouTube channel, but the site itself gets somewhere between 20 and 30,000 views a month. So
I've thought about doing like AdSense on my website. You know, I've tinkered around with that. I've also played around with doing some Amazon affiliate stuff. So there's some interesting things that we can do. So Travis, as always, my friend, you have been a pleasure and an absolute just bucket of information, and we appreciate you here on the podcast. And I can't wait 2025. Maybe we do this again, and we see we see where we're at. So Travis, thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dustin.